All right, team, we are back with the Ask Maddie Show. We have a lot of great, stellar topics today, talking about Spot Ethereum ETF, talking about a great asset to be buying right now, as well is Casper Labs filing for Chapter 11, and is Donald Trump here to save crypto? Oh, Maddie, that should be a great conversation we'll have there, as well as the best strat for exiting the market. This is the Ask Maddie Show. Matt, how are you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing a lot better. I was pretty much all last week recovering from EDC, just getting back from whatever was going around, cold wise, but feeling a lot better. Energy's a lot better. So I'm excited to talk about crypto this week.
Absolutely, Maddie, and we're gonna have a great show today. So, team, make sure you stick around. And I just wanted—we didn't have another after hours this week, 2 weeks in a row. It's been terrible. Last week, we had to skip that. Then this week, I was in and out of the hospital, and I want you guys to trust my word here. I said last week we'd be back this week, and we just couldn't do it. I was in the worst pain of all time. But we will be back next week for after hours at 7 p.m. on Monday. So make sure you subscribe here so you don't miss that show. And team, we're going to get into all your topics today. We have a lot of great topics. I'm very excited for them. Before we get into them, though, make sure you become a Crypto Charge member. Click the link in the pinned comment down below. It'll take you directly to our website. Check us out there. You can start your 30-day free trial using code YouTube and check out our tools, our daily shows, our Discord, our community where we collaborate. And, Maddie's in there calming the team down, letting us know, hey guys, this is what we got to do to get ready. This is what we're buying right now. Maddie's throwing down trade ideas. So team, you don't want to miss out on that. Do that, and I'll give you a little salute emoji, welcome you into the Discord. But now, Maddie, let's get into these awesome questions here. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Danny Boy 77 says, is the Spot ETH ETF better for crypto?
So anytime we get more listings, more exposure to any asset that's in the digital asset realm, it's a net positive thing. Now, what we're starting to see, and I hope that we continue to see, is a little bit of kind of like the reduction and romanticization of the listing of spot ETFs. There was a lot of hype, ahead of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, and that's also, a lot of us who've been in this space for a while have, kind of become a little bit, disenchanted with it as a whole, just because we're so used to the years and years of denials and, kind of just whatever, just kick it down the road. We'll get there when we get there. Most of us who are purists in the space would rather have direct access anyway. Be able to have that self custody, be able to send it to another exchange. Whatever we want to do with it, it does give us more flexibility. But you are going to have this group of people that don't ever want to venture outside of their TD Ameritrade, don't ever want to venture outside their Charles Schwab. They want to stay inside their traditional platforms. So if they're able to add some of these larger cap assets to their portfolios very quickly, very easily, be able to see how much up or down they are directly inside their portfolio in conjunction with their stocks and mutual funds and any other assets they hold inside of there, that is very convenient. That does bring another level of adoption and more liquidity, more volume to the market. Now, what we saw recently with this, Ethereum spot listing is that we actually got a pump and break in ETH ahead of the listing, and then actually a slight sell-off when we actually got the news. So, a lot of people will ask, well, what should I do about this? What's this narrative coming up? What should what should the play be with this narrative? Guys, don't play into the narratives, right? Look at the charts, buy based on what the charts are telling you. Please don't try to jump into the hype. There's been so many examples of, another example with the Ethereum event would be the merge to proof of stake. Nothing happened. Market was flat. So I really just try not to buy into these narratives. Yeah, sometimes you might be right, but guys, always buy off the technicals. Don't ever buy off of what you think might happen. All this institutional money is going to pour in, and everyone has to get Ethereum today. The spot ETFs are not going anywhere. You can buy it today, tomorrow, or the next day. Most traditional investors don't have that FOMO.
I love that, Maddie, and we were having a great conversation last week, and so I want to bring up some of the things we talked about last week, because I was just sharing with you, I was talking to our guy, Dan Habib, which is also at Crypto Charge, and, he's an expert in his field, and I was talking with him about, like, the approval of a spot Ethereum ETF, and he didn't foresee it even happening this year, all right? And I was like, I would agree with him. Like, look how long it took for the spot Bitcoin ETF to get approved. Like all last year we were talking about it, at the top of this year we were talking about it, and then it was a slow rollout, and then we saw the 11 approvals of 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs. And so that took a while. And then right after that, then the conversation started to take place about the spot Ethereum ETF, right? And this has seemingly happened so fast. Top of last week, just like you talked about, we saw news reports come out saying like, oh, the approval of a spot Ethereum ETF is like 80% chance on Monday last week, which is when we saw that, rise in Ethereum. Right, and then the middle of the week last week, we saw the approval And I was just talking to you, Maddie. Remember last week I was asking you, I'm like, how could this be? How could this happen so fast? It is very weird because I feel like everyone's looking elsewhere, but not looking at the truth behind Ethereum. And so I want you to share with the team here what you were telling me last week about Ethereum because it was so interesting. Just like the ties with Ethereum and the government, whatever. So could you share that with the team and what they're kind of missing in this?
Yeah, it's a little bit of the Shakespearean ideology of kind of the world's a stage, right? And we're all just kind of watching along. Ethereum's had a long, interesting history. Vitalik's had a long, interesting history. We have, first of all, the examples back when William Hidman, director of corporate finance for the SEC, went on, multiple news channels and, explicitly stated that Ethereum in itself was not a security. And, here's all the properties that make it, sufficiently decentralized. And, so most other assets and most other creators of those assets that said, hey, we're pretty similar to Ethereum in these capacities, thought, hey, we can go full steam ahead because we've, qualified with a lot of these things. And, this is what you're giving to the average American viewer. They're not legal experts. They're not cryptocurrency experts. They should be able to take what they're hearing on a news channel from a public official and run with that, right? So Ethereum's always kind of been in this special little protected category, whether it be, Bill Hinman, or we look at any of the other corrupt individuals in the SEC that have kind of allowed Ethereum to get ahead here. And then, you kind of look at, Bitcoin and how long it's taken here for Bitcoin to get that approval. You finally get the Ethereum approval seemingly just kind of very, very quickly compared to how long we thought it was going to take. But at the end of the day, I do think that we're going to continue to see more and more spot approvals. I don't think this is the end of them. We also have the SEC still playing around with their wording of, digital asset securities. When you look at the KuCoin lawsuit right now, SEC versus KuCoin, they state a variety of assets in there they believe to be sold as unregistered securities, and Ethereum is actually stated in there. So it's always interesting to see the juxtaposition of the SEC having active litigation saying, we think you sold this particular asset as unregistered security, but also we think that you can sell this as a spot ETF and it's not a security inherently. They've always loved that gray area. They've loved to play it as long and hard as they can. Eventually that will come to an end. But they've made sure to make as much money as they wanted to, in the meantime, by suppressing and then also being a part of organizations that exclusively work towards Bitcoin and Ethereum based products. So, the world isn't fair, guys. It never will be. But eventually, we'll get some regulation. The space is too big and too powerful for us not to see, another, I would say, 20 or 30 spot ETF listings of different assets over the next 5 years.
Baseball Pain 030 says, if you had to choose one asset to buy, what would it be?
So lots of great opportunities. You guys know a lot of our favorites on the channel here, right? We've been long-term bulls on, XRP, Casper, Zcash, API3. In the grand scheme, a lot of these are still very, very good prices when you're looking at even some of the long-term targets that we have in our library there. But one of the ones that I've had my eye on for a while, I just wanted to kind of see a little bit more confirmation, wanted to see a little bit better pricing, was Helium. The ticker for that is going to be H&T. This is widely available. You guys can pick this up on Coinbase even if you'd like. And you guys can do your DCA there. But if we look at the chart here on Helium really quickly here as a team, let's actually come out to maybe like a 5-day chart just so we can see the prices are a little bit more condensed here. Helium is on the Solana network. So I first of all do like that you have very, very cheap and fast validation there on the Solana network, but specifically Helium is a DePIN project, so decentralized physical infrastructure network. So right now, if you want to connect to a cell tower, we have all these huge, enormous, archaic cell towers everywhere, and we basically have to kind of syndicate sometimes when we're outside of our roaming area, right? So if it's not an AT&T tower anymore, we have to roam on the Verizon tower or vice versa. So what Helium has done is essentially provided kind of like a decentralized mesh network. I don't know how familiar you guys with our GPS systems and GPS meshing systems, but basically they're these small hardware devices, and now there's over 12 providers that can actually sell you these devices, and you can put them in your home or wherever you are, and you can earn rewards essentially for allowing people to connect to these mesh devices. And this is also very, very helpful in rural areas where you don't have as many cell towers and can have big lapses in coverage. So there are some big providers like T-Mobile that has picked up Helium, and you can have a second line on Helium, so you can basically have unlimited talk and text for I think like $20 a month So not only are we reducing costs, we're also increasing availability through this mesh network. So from a fundamental perspective, incredibly bullish. Make sure you guys do your own research. Go check out the website, check out the white paper. Very, very interesting project. You guys know me that I'm very picky about that combination of the technical and fundamental side of things. So when I see a breakout like this, so first of all, big nasty sell-off, right? The sentiment and also just kind of being connected to this Solana network saw minus 97.9%, right? Really, really nasty breakdown here on the Helium chart. When you look at what's happened here though, and you look at the accumulative range that was broken, we've had a perfect breakout back test. So you had this top of range here, a little bit of support that occurred in here. We finally break out, and then you guys can see that we did this nice little back testing here recently. So showing that there's buyer demand stepping in off this area, really, really fantastic buying opportunity. That's always the structure I'm looking for. Breakout back test. I try not to chase this up in here, right? If I had chased this and I had been too greedy, right, and I'd been buying it up here 9 and 11 because I thought it was going to 24, I would be down currently about 53% of my position. I didn't do that, right? I layered into my position. I took my initial position in the 5s, and then I doubled down in the 350 region because I already identified that as an area of previous support. So we're well into Helium right now. It's a light DCA for me as well right now. It is something I'm looking to sell at a new all-time high. It is not a swing trade. I'm not holding this for just, a 2 or 3x. I am holding this for a much higher target. We are illustrating all of those in our coin library and in our Discord for you guys there. But Helium, I think, is probably one of the best combinations right now of a fundamental and technical pick. Now, again, don't come after me in the comments. Are you not bullish on Casper anymore? Did you sell all your Casper for Helium? No, guys, no. Guess what? I'm diligent and I put money to the side every single month, no matter how juicy certain prices are, to give myself the ability to open new positions, capitalize on new opportunities like Helium here. And this is something I've added to my portfolio in the last several months, and I think is going to perform very well, not just short term, but long term because of those fundamental pieces that I mentioned at the top of this analysis.
Pan says, great video. Again, guys, I got a question. Is there some news about Casper and the Chapter 11 bankruptcy? I can't find legit answers online. Is it something to worry about at this stage?
Don't fall for the headline bait, guys. My buddy Kevin Cage did a great breakdown on Twitter as well as YouTube on IPWE, and that's what you're referencing here. So, it's very easy to read a news article that says something the connections with something Casper, something Chapter 11, and your brain is going to automatically connect those things, right? It's the same reason like when you've probably seen those things on like social media where it's like, the letters are jumbled, but the first and the last letter are in the correct place, and your brain automatically puts them in the correct space because that's how we read. We don't actually read for, exact one for one. We're reading for comprehensive reading, right? So you guys always have to be very careful when you see a headline like that. Casper Labs has not and will not file for Chapter 11. There was a company, IPWE, that was going to be minting intellectual property on the Casper network that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Absolutely nothing to do with the long-term sustainability of the network. No concerns with funding or financing for Casper. They have really done the crock-pot approach when it comes to the development of their protocol. They have not rushed anything. They haven't done a bunch of flashy marketing and spent millions of dollars plastering their stuff all over a stadium, right? I was at EDC and Bonk spent, I think, like $2.3 million to do this pop-up breakfast thing over at, the tent there. And I guarantee you, nobody's like, you know what? I got to go buy some Bonk now. No, they've got their breakfast and they left. So same thing here, right? I'm not, turned on by flashy marketing. I am here for projects that are truly building, have proprietary technology, and also give me great technical setups. And I don't think that Casper is going anywhere. So again, guys, always be very careful. Read through the article, and then when you're done, go find a secondary source that confirms that, right? I know that it sounds like a lot, but this is how you have to go about things. There's so many people, even in everyday life. How fast does misinformation spread because of this, right? You go and you're talking with a bunch of friends. Oh, did you hear this celebrity did this and this and this? And then 2 days later, we get a little bit more confirmation. Like, oh, I guess they don't diddle kids, right? Like there's always going to be a little bit more information that we don't get. And there's always going to be that hot hit piece that comes out. And that's what spreads faster than the correction, right? So I just want you guys to be aware of that. Always be careful. And that's what we talk about by doing your research. Doing your research doesn't mean reading a headline or reading one article. It sometimes means reading 2, 3, or 4 articles to make sure you're getting the full comprehensive story.
Spencer Will 3 says, Donald Trump has to win now, right?
All right, so you guys should know that I do not sit on the red or the blue side of the spectrum. I'm a libertarian through and through. I despise government of all kinds. I think that almost everybody that's in political office, 99% of them, have zero of your best interest at heart. They're always out for themselves, out for numero uno. You look at how much money they make by, and they go into Congress, come out of the Congress. No, they turn out to be the best stock traders in the world. They are all trading, working against you. All right. So like, I don't put any politicians on a pedestal. So don't be like, this guy's a freaking Democrat. Or this guy's a Republican. I'm not. I promise you. I will
smash
you
everything, Matt.
Right.
Matt,
They call me absolutely everything.
Democrat. They call you communist. They call you everything.
A crony. Oh, bro, it's nonstop. And again, you can't hurt my feelings. I really do not care because I'm a researcher through and through, and I always take everything from a constitutional perspective. Right. How does this affect the right of the individual? How does this fit within our Constitution? Now, let's roll back to Donald Trump here specifically. Again, I'm somebody who tracks politicians throughout all of their, stances, all of their platforms, and I probably dig a lot deeper than most people do. Donald Trump was previously incredibly anti-crypto. Overtly said Bitcoin is out to debase and devalue and replace the US dollar. And he said it in a very negative context, very anti-CBDC, right? And now what you have is, first of all, a very different set of, political circumstances this time around versus 2020, right? Remember, everyone was locked up, pissed, protesting, very, very different set of mindset for single issue voters in 2020 compared to 2024. So now you have Biden overtly being very anti-crypto, siding with Gary Gensler, not being very proactive when it comes to the regulation and adoption of crypto. So what's the automatic response here? It's for Donald Trump to flip on that, right? Whatever Biden is saying, do the exact opposite. Do I hope that this brings more conversation to the table and we have more political candidates debating, arguing, maybe bringing more awareness to the public about crypto? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the best case scenario for this. Do I think if Donald Trump wins, he's actually going to implement any of this pro-crypto stuff? No, I don't. I don't think he's going to. I don't think it's going to be also enough of a single voter issue for people to explicitly vote for Donald Trump because he has turned somewhat pro-crypto. And again, I want you guys to read through his messaging. It's not necessarily pro-crypto. It's more like neutral crypto, which is better than a sharp stick in the eye, but he's really not jumping up and down about crypto. He's not very educated about crypto. I guarantee if you ask Donald Trump, how does Bitcoin work? The words proof of work would never come out of his mouth. And I would say the same of Biden as well. I don't think that he's educated enough to understand even how a single blockchain ecosystem works, other than this is a powerful financial instrument and we don't have control over it, right? I'm going to leave it out to the other nerds out here to tell me how exactly it works. So, those are just some of the things I consider, guys. Does Donald Trump win this election? I don't know. I think that Biden's a pretty weak candidate. I think people are pretty unhappy this time around. Again, I did not vote for Donald Trump or Biden this last election. I actually voted third party. I voted George Jorgensen. I knew that she wasn't going to win, but boy, did it make me happy seeing people get their feathers ruffled over you voting for someone that was not red or blue. I don't think it's enough of a single party issue. We'll see what shakes out though.
That's good, Maddie. I just wanted to, you're talking about like how like Donald Trump is like more neutral now. And it was funny because I was just telling you before the show, I feel like there's someone in his ear now. Just like going back to, I was telling you about the primaries, and when Vivek dropped out, he joined the Trump trail. And I believe the next state was in Massachusetts, where Trump came out and said, yeah, our new guy Vivek, I don't want to take any credit. I'm going to give it all to Vivek. He's like, tell me about CBDCs, and I will not allow no central bank digital currency. And so that was like the start of it. That was when he first like came out and made that stance. And so now I seemingly, like, his tweet the other day on True Social was like just speaking to us, Matt. He was like, I will not ban crypto or Bitcoin. Okay, it's very interesting you make those distinctions. It's like now,
right.
Now he knows all the talking points. Oh, Elizabeth Warren. It's like, okay, we've hated Elizabeth Warren for years now. So
right.
It's like
easy target, buddy. Like exactly. we all hate Elizabeth Warren.
Very interesting. We'll talk more about this team as the year goes on, so make sure you stick around. Last question here. David says, what would be the best strategy for exiting the market?
It should always be a multi-layered approach. No matter how much crypto you have, no matter what your long-term or short-term goals are, I never think that you should have a single price target that you plan to exit at. There's a lot of factors that can change your exit plan. Sometimes your rallies can be cut short, and really only shooting for that one moon target can hinder your overall growth. I'm personally a very, very big fan of considering looking at a take profit target that's first of all 3 or 4 targets, sometimes maybe even 5 or 6, depending on what the position size looks like, what the momentum is, what the your general outlook on the asset is. But that first take profit should be a very generous take profit. I'm talking about somewhere between 35 and 50% of your position should be exited take profit at one. And you're like, well, I'm leaving all this money on the table. Yeah, maybe you are. But what if the market crashes, right? What if we get to TP1, we never get to 2, 3, or 4, and you only took 5% off the table or 10% off the table at take profit 1, and then we just go back into the bear market? You're not going to be very happy, right? You're going to be pretty angry. You're going to be pretty upset. But you do a 35, 40, 50% TP at take profit 1, and then you get more greedy with the other targets, at least you have paid yourself back your initial investment. You've realized a significant amount of profit, and then you're going to be, taking those, I would call them like extra field goals, right? At those higher take profit points. Those are gifts, right? TP1 should be like, cool, we did it, we executed pretty well. TP2, 3, 4, 5. Icing on the cake. Now, I do think that most of the targets we have in the library are quite achievable. I think that, we might even exceed some of the targets I have in the library. And that's what part of that long-term moon bag is for, right? So, a lot of my approach is like, all right, I'm going to do a big profit take at TP1, then I'm going to do some smaller take profits at, 2, 3, and 4, but then I'm going to keep part of that bag. And that is kind of the insurance policy against you being wrong in the other direction. But I would much rather be holding a little bit, in my bag and be like, all right, well, I took this back into the bear market. We set a higher low. I'm technically still at, 2.5x because I accumulated most of these in the bear market, then being like, okay, well, I didn't do any of my TP. Now I've got this entire bag in the bear market. Yeah, I'm up 2 or 3x on it, but I really wish I was able to repack that back into the market now in the bear market. So always, especially if you've been in these market cycles before, and if you have a trading journal, you should be able to go back and look on these thoughts. How did you feel in the bear market last time around? What had you done, wish you had done differently the time before? 9 out of 10 times it's, I wish I had taken more profits, right? You can't go broke taking profits. And, don't worry about Twitter. Don't worry about the, fear and greed index. Those are not necessarily direct indicators of what's happening. A lot of times we'll be still in the greed section and the market's already topped out, right? We've already topped out. So like a lot of people are like, well, we're still in the greed, so we should just keep piling in. No, not necessarily, guys, right? And same thing with the sentiment on the opposite side. Nobody wants to touch crypto in the bear market. They're like, well, once we start getting moving again, I'll start getting involved. That 2, 3, 4, 5x already getting cut off, right? You're already losing big amounts of money by not buying into the bear market. So you have to be as contrarian as possible when it comes to taking profits as well. Everyone's going to tell you it's going to go just a little higher, right? And that little bird in your ear can get louder and louder. Don't let it get louder, right? You have to have a plan. Write it down. If it's on an Excel doc, great. If it's, on a document or computer, great. If it's on a physical notebook, great. A written plan is absolutely required to be successful in this market. If you're going to deviate from that, you're going to change it, great. But get out your pen and paper and you write down why you're changing it and what you're changing it to. That way you at least have a documented thought process as to why you're doing what you're doing. It should never be what I feel is happening in the market, right?
Team, this was a stellar show. If you got something good out of it, make sure you like it. And on this last topic we talked about with strategy, I'm going to bring this up in maybe an after hour show in the coming future where we can lightly talk about it. If you're a crypto charge member, you should already have a strategy at this point. But when talking about exit strategy, talking about alerts, talking about, doing the math to see, when incorporating Fibonacci's, when incorporating your cost basis, what that looks like with selling, like we will talk about that in the upcoming future, just so we have that documented on YouTube, just a light version of it if you want the full version of what we're talking about when it comes to the intricacies of, trading alerts and, like why you shouldn't be getting emotional with everything. That's all on the website. But we will talk about that in an upcoming show on After Hours. So team, make sure you subscribe here and make sure you become a Crypto Charge member. If you need anything else, we are way out of time. So we will see you guys next week on After Hours. Bye.